Hello and welcome to the next episode of my advanced blueprint tutorials. I haven't recorded any episodes for almost 2 weeks right now because I was on a vacation break, but I feel now really great. I have a lot of new ideas, and even though I have started a steady job as a game developer right now, um, I am a lazy person, so I am still working on components and I will do a lot of more free stuff for you guys while I am developing them for actual games, working on a AAA titles. So in this episode, we'll be talking about sound component that I am making. It will be a very complex and big component. For now, it only processes the footsteps. So in this episode, I will show how to set up the component itself, set a map of sound, set a map of particles because it supports both sound and particles, and set materials and surfaces for this entire system to work. And I've done something for lazy people like me that doesn't require to use animation notification for footsteps, as footsteps are being generated automatically. Okay, and I'm back. I have modified the Paragon example project. And the only modification I've made is that I gave this general floor a material override, and all the physical materials are in the examples. And let's see the color in the base folder as any physics, so physical materials and damage types and other actors like that should be in the base folder. So we got concrete, grass, ground, stone, and water. I will be sharing all of the assets I am sharing here except for the assets that are from Marketplace as usual. So I'm using surface footsteps, which is Niagara system footsteps particles, which is a great package. It is an amazing value and I am very happy that I bought it. And the second one I am using is the footstep sounds from, let me see, footstep. Yeah, it's this one. And I must say I have a lot of sounds and I have really vast library of general assets, and my vault got over 700 assets. But anything that comes for sound, Bartosz Kamiński, he's your guy. Like anything he makes is just amazing, and I don't mean only the sound samples, I mean the reverb, all the settings are done absolutely amazing, and I can't stress it enough how great this package is. I am actually using this package for 3 years now in every project that I am doing. Like I am extending it by different sounds, and I am modifying the blueprint that is there. It's a good blueprint, but it's not great. But it's a great value. So yeah, just a heads up. Okay, going back here, I'm using those two packs, so I won't be sharing those assets, but I will be sharing the new family member, which is the AGR sound master. And we also have the AGR footstep animation notification. So let's see here. It looks a bit intimidating at first, but it's not so bad. Most of the events that are actually here are being done internally, so you don't have to bother with them. And I will tell you which events you can run manually and which functions you should use. So for our Paragon counters, I've just added AGR Sound Master, and I've made a surface footsteps map where you have um, surfaces, and to check surfaces in your project you just go to project settings and then you just write surface and you have physical surfaces in engine physics, and here you can specify up to 62 surfaces. I'm using surfaces for sound instead of physical materials because multiple physical materials can share the same surface, and yeah, and if I need a different surface for similar in looks physical materials, I can do it the same. So and it's very easy to use and very easy to read, and it's an enumeration, so it's also it's very hard to make a mistake because you just have so many options. It's also important to just fill in the default. The default is fill in when you just add the component, and then you have surface particles, which I also filled with just the Niagara system references, and then you should also say if you want to use footstep particles and you want to use footstep sounds, because you can disable one or both of them. This one I will talk about in a second. And then other setup that you have to do is just let's close those two, is fit shortcut. I didn't want to type in foot L, foot R every time I am using animation notifications. So I've just made shortcuts, so L, R, or whatever you need. I made this system so it will work with any character that has any number of legs. I haven't tested it with spiders and quadruple animals, but I will soon. And if something doesn't work with those type of characters, I will adjust the system so it works perfectly with any number of limbs. And then you have a velocity minimum volume, which is 0.1 volume, and maximum volume is 1. And then you have a volume multiplier override, so you can have a general multiplier of all volume generated by this component. In the general setup, you also have a male-female tick. It is not tick because our countess is a female. I have a debug draw also checked, but you can turn it off. It can hit performance a bit. Rattle is just another tick that I am using inside the sounds itself. I will show how it works. Footstep attenuation, concurrency settings. So like you can see, this is just the footstep setup. I've done it separately for the general setup and footstep setup. Because I will also do ambient sound, I will do environmental sounds, and I will make them work on multiplayer. So any sound that is multiplayer relevant and spawns an event for AI, for example, and allows AI to hear stuff, it will be managed through here, through different setups. So right now, if you want to do a setup, you can do it directly in here by changing the default values, or as usual, you can run setup events. So you have the setup footstep defaults, setup fit definition, which looks just like this. So you have a key value, and obviously the keys need to be unique. And then you have setup auto footsteps, which uses this boolean value and this value for trace length, and you shouldn't overdo this length. I think the default is 15. Yeah, it's 15. So you should keep it something around 10, 15, 18. It depends on the scale of your character. If it's a very bulky big character that have from the feet that you define here, by the way, to the ground more space, then you should consider increasing this value, but it's up to you and up to your character. So there's not much more to do here. Basically inside the character, I haven't changed anything except adding this component, and that's it. And let's see how it works. So when the character starts, you can see my debug draws and debug prints. So I am doing footsteps on turn in place, on landing, on jumping, because I have the auto footstep on, and on running. And I am reading the surface. And it doesn't matter how fast I switch directions. It's not relying on notifications, because notifications sometimes won't trigger as you suppose they should, because they are reading from the blending animation inside the blend space. That is the biggest blend, which means that it doesn't necessarily is the animation that is having the foot planted. So this is automatically generated footstep hits, and it is reading surfaces as it should, and it is obviously also louder and you know, more quiet depending on the velocity of the character itself. Okay, so let's get back in here and let's show you the component itself. So yeah, on begin play we're just getting a reference of the owner as a character. If the owner is not a character, then we will redo it later on. This is the init setup, which is just setting the values. Some of the values are replicated because they are gameplay relevant for the AI to hear certain sounds, but some values are not replicated and they're, you know, even if you change those values, it doesn't change anything because the values set at the server are dominant and more important. Here you have feed definition setup that you can do manually or you can do it through event, so you can change the definition as you go with the game, or you can just okay, here you have the sound surface alter. So basically when you have a map and you do an add and the map already has this key that you're trying to add, it will override the value for that key. So I don't have to do a check if this map contains certain key because just adding is add or update basically. Then you have spawn particle, just an event, and spawn sound event. It looks a bit more complicated because this is a spawn sound attached, because we want the sound to be, you know, volumetric, so attached to the exact feed that is making the sound. And we're also pushing two parameters, one that is male and one that is rattle. Now how those parameters work is that inside any QE, so let's go here. So for example, this one. This is the sound I've taken from the package I showed you. But I modified it a bit because it had a switcher here inside. I don't want that. I want to have multiple sounds because, well, many reasons. And it's easier to modify later on. So here we have one branch that is based on a bool parameter, which is male. So this is male or default, and this is female. And here we have a modulator, continuous modulator, which is okay, we don't really need that because we're already doing this somewhere else. Okay, and then we have the rattle, and the rattle also has a branch, and then we're just mixing the rattle with the footstep itself. So we just fix concrete. Let's see if it sounds any different. I guess the volume changed. Okay, I will have to update all of those really quickly. Okay, so just this, so basically this is the same. Okay. That was water, stone. This was inserted by Bartosz because he wanted to be able to modify the rattle sound and the footstep sound separately. So you could have, you know, rattle more subtle if you have light armor, but very loud if you have heavy armor, something like that. I don't need that for this example, and you can easily modify the cues you're making by yourself. It's up to you what parameters you want to push onto them. but I don't want anything like that. I want it to be just straight. And the concrete as well. Okay, save everything. And now we should have blueprint control over the how loud it is. So yeah, we're just setting parameters. This is the make sound. This is the init footstep event. So we are trying to do a footstep. So we are checking first of all that we have a certain saved name, and we are looking. We're using this function. So we're checking our map of name to name. That if we have a saved socket name, and if we have this socket name, then we're checking if this socket is actually a socket on a mesh. And if it is, then we're doing the trace foot, which is an event, and you have a trace length that's whatever you want. And then you have certain outputs, and if it has a hit, then we're doing this event init footstep, or we're printing that nothing under the feet. So it's odd that we are actually trying to do the footstep. So let's go here. So here we're just going for, if we are using particles, then spawn particle, it goes to the event spawn particle. If we use footsteps down, then go into spawn sound, it's a sequence. And then if we are in debug, then print debug. And that's it. And I've put it in so many events that there are events linking to events, and even the try spawn is segregated into multiple events because I am using parts of them in different way at different conditions, and this is because of this giant thing and this. So there's a setup auto footstep. If you set it to true and you set the auto footstep length, by the way, the default value is 15. Then on tick, you do a lot of stuff. So whatever you do on tick is very heavy. So whenever you can, you should do some branches that will not do stuff that is not necessary. So on loop body, we're checking all the feet right now. If they are close to the ground by this value, so we're doing an event trace foot by this value, and we're taking the character owner reference mesh because we don't have a mesh reference that is pushed forward by the animation of notification. And in order to even go through this loop, we are checking if our auto footsteps array doesn't contain this footsteps. So whenever we plant a foot, whenever we play sound, we don't want to play 60 sounds of footstep per second, obviously. So whenever we plant our foot, we save our foot in the array. And when the array is full, so the length of the array is the length of the feet definition, so all feet touch the ground, that means we need to reset the array and we can again plant our feet. Thanks to that, you never plant the same feet twice in a row, and you do not plant the same feet again unless all feet touched the ground at least once. Because if you have a quadruple animal, he might be running in such a way that 2 feet touches the ground at almost the same time, but they will never touch the ground again before the other 2 feet touches the ground. So only after all feet touches the ground it will reset, and I will test it on a spider because that will be more tricky. But yeah, basically what I'm doing here is just doing a lot of stuff so it saves on performance. And here I am, well, basically doing the same. So thanks to this, we get this sweet sound effects and particles that I don't see, by the way. No, they are here. I see them. this debug is a bit annoying. Let me turn it off for a second. Sound master, debug, no. Okay. Play. Okay, we can see the dust from our feet. Okay, there's dust particle as well. And I don't see anything on this white background. I think yeah, I see splashes. Okay, so yeah, it's working. The only time I am using actual animation notification is on the turn in place. So how that works is that you have this AGR footstep notification, and it has one value that is the name of the saved slot. So when we go to our Paragon character, we go into mesh, we go into our anim graph, and then you have the walking countest anim graph, which is the base anim graph, and you have standing, turn in place, you have turn in place blend space, and then inside the turn in place blend space you have animations, and then you go into the animation, and then you have those plant left, right plant, left plant that are notifications made by Epic Games, and I've just set at the, well, basically the same time. They don't have to be perfect. My notification, so AGR footstep, and I'm just calling L and R, so left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right. Okay, so that's it. So right now you can run both systems at the same time. So the automatical footsteps and the one uh, generated by that is generated by notifications. So yeah, I'm uploading this system. I hope it will make your life easier. I actually developed it for one of the games I'm working on right now because I have over 600 walking, running, jumping, landing, sprinting animations that I would have to edit with all those weapons that, like, every weapon has its own animations for locomotion, which means that I got like over 600 animations to add notifications to them, or I could spend few hours and make this system. It was obvious choice for me, and yeah, I hope it will make your life easier as well. I am also planning to add some updates to the AGR system as a general, the animation one, because I got multiple requests, and very soon I am starting the series on Able Ability System, which is an amazing plugin, and I can't stress enough how many hours it saved me and how awesome and easy it is to work with this plugin. So look forward to more of my content. I'll be upgrading the AGR family whenever I need to do another component for any of the games I'm working on. See you guys soon. Bye.